as it is close enough to the Earth to be protected by the magnetic field. They're protected from most of the harmful radiation that you would otherwise see if you're traveling through interplanetary or deep space, but an increased radiation environment nonetheless. So Matryoshka, an important study to keep the astronauts safe and monitor their health while on board. The final Russian cosmonaut, Yuri Malenchenko, going to spend a couple of hours to transfer a whole bunch of water from the Russian Progress. The Russian Progress, an unmanned Russian cargo ship, which carries several tons of supplies to the International Space Station on regular flights, several a year. Also the main transport for water over on the Russian segment. So Malenchenko going to transfer some of that water over into some empty tanks on board. He's also going to be doing some Earth observations for the Russian Relaxat Saya experiment. That actually looking at the effects of propulsion systems and their exhaust on the Earth's upper atmosphere. So using the station's unique vantage point to take a look at that. Meanwhile, back over on the USOS segment, Tim Koper, the second NASA astronaut on board, doing some more runs with the BASS-M experiment, the Burning and Suppression of Solids Millikan experiment. This is going to be his fifth set of operations that he's completed over the last several weeks, preparing and testing 5 different samples and working in tandem with principal investigator down here on the ground. BASS-M looking at flame retardant cotton fabrics and how well they are able to resist burning in microgravity. And results from this could help research on flame retardant textiles, not only used in space. Obviously you want things to be as fireproof as possible in that enclosed environment, but that could also influence textile processes down here on Earth. Tim Koper also engaged in the SPRINT experiment. The astronauts and cosmonauts on board working out an hour and a half, 2 hours every single day just to maintain bone mass, muscle mass, cardiovascular health, other things, just to combat the negative effects of weightlessness, and all of that obviously takes up a lot of time. So SPRINT actually evaluating the use of high-intensity, lower-volume exercise in order to minimize all of that muscle, bone, cardiovascular function loss in crew members during long-duration missions, but also hopefully cutting down on the amount of time they actually need to exercise. All of this, of course, providing information to help with the long-term goal, which is just protecting human fitness for even longer space exploration missions, as we begin to look at sending humans out to far-off destinations around the moon, to an asteroid, and eventually onto Mars. They'll need to be able to stay healthier for even longer than they do on board the International Space Station, of 6 months to a year at a time. We begin talking about several years at a time, so SPRINT just an exercise experiment taking place to try and come up with the best possible way to maintain that fitness. The final crew member on board, Tim Peake, aside from all of that work that he's doing with the spacesuit fan pump separator replacement today, also taking part in the circadian rhythm study, where he's going to fix several monitors to his body for the next 36 hours. The circadian rhythm study investigating the role of that circadian rhythm, basically your sleep-wake cycle, or your biological clock, and how it actually changes during space flight. As astronauts on board don't have our usual visual indicators of the sun going down and it getting time to go to sleep, as they see about 16 sunrises and sunsets every single day. Also the impacts of physical activity on board and being in a controlled environment, so changes in body composition, body temperature, all of these things can actually influence how well the crew member is sleeping. So circadian rhythm's taking a look at all of these aspects and just how much it's affecting how well the crew members are able to get a good night's rest. So a whole bunch of work today on board for the crew of Expedition 46. For two of them, Kelly and Kornienko, they're on their 319th day in space. Again, they're going to be at 340 by the time they come home, so kind of in the home stretch of that 1 year mission, the first 1 year long mission on board the International